You're watching Arise, the world's standout news. Proudly independent for more than a decade. Always bold, always fresh. Winner of TV Channel of the Year from peers at the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria Awards. Winner of an Emmy from America's National. Still, we're changing the conversation to make sense of your world. We'll do it together, because now more than ever, you need a clear voice to guide you home, awards, and beyond.
Africa sits on the brink of unparalleled transformation. Leading financial institutions are embracing this bank is at the forefront, redefining banking for the modern age. With digital solutions that transcend borders and bold partnerships that support financial inclusion, this isn't just banking, it's a blueprint for the Africa of tomorrow. Access more than banking.
This is Arise, the world's standout news channel. I'm Temitope Fagbemi. Welcome to Newsday.
And I'm Hawa Mukan. Our top stories this hour. Chinese President Xi Jinping pledges to work with his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, to rejuvenate their individual countries as the pair began a day of talks in Beijing.
Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico, who was shot 5 times in an assassination attempt on Wednesday, is in a very serious but stable condition, according to a hospital official.
And Benin Republic reverses its decision to block exports of crude oil by its West African neighbor Niger through its port. The gesture now opens the door to further consultation between the two countries. Details in just a moment.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping praised their friendship and deep ties in a joint appearance before the media. Putin said Russia and China wanted a political solution to the Ukraine crisis, while Xi called for a two-state solution to the war in Gaza. This is Putin's first international visit since the start of his 5th presidential term, following an election where he ran virtually unopposed. The meeting, the third in just over a year, comes as Russia's invasion of Ukraine has raged on for more than 2 years. Russia has faced hundreds of sanctions from the US and its Western allies that aim to cripple Moscow's war machine and has looked to China as a lifeline. Beijing has been accused of aiding Moscow's war by supplying tech and components, but China says none of this is lethal and also has commercial applications.
Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico is stable, but his condition remains very serious after an assassination attempt that shocked the country. And Fico, 59 years old, was shot 5 times in Lova on Wednesday. He was in critical condition and underwent several hours of emergency surgery. The alleged attacker was a 71-year-old writer, and Environment Minister Tomas Taraba says that the operation had gone well. He did say one bullet went through Fico's stomach, and the second hit a joint during the attack after Fico left a government meeting. Interior Minister Estok, who described the attack as an unprecedented threat to Slovak democracy, said the shooting was politically motivated.
In the Middle East, 5 soldiers have been killed by Israeli tank fire in northern Gaza in one of the deadliest incidents of its kind since the war against Hamas began in October. An initial probe found that 2 tanks fired at a building in Jabalia refugee camp where the troops had gathered. Troops went back into the area this week after previously pulling out, saying Hamas had regrouped there. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have fled the fighting and bombardment. Both the Israeli military and Hamas's military wing said that battles in Jabalia camp and the surrounding towns of Jabalia were intensifying. Battles also raged around the southern city of Rafah, from where nearly 600 out of an Israeli operation 10 days ago. More than 1 million displaced people had been.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu publicly challenged about post-war plans for the Gaza Strip by his own defense chief, who vowed to oppose any long-term military rule by Israel over the Rafah enclave. The televised statement by Defense Minister Yoav Gallant marked the most vocal dissent from within Israel's top echelon against Netanyahu during a 7-month-old and multi-front conflict that has set off political fissures at home and abroad. Netanyahu hinted in a repost that named Gallant that the retired admiral was making excuses for not yet having destroyed Hamas in a conflict that's now in its 8th month. While reiterating the Netanyahu government's goal of defeating Hamas and recovering remaining hostages from the October 7th cross-border rampage group, Gallant said these must be compelled and complemented by laying the groundwork for alternative Palestinian rule.
כבר ערב התמרון הצבאי בחודש אוקטובר הציגה מערכת הביטחון לקבינט את תוכנית המלחמה עם קביעה כי נדרש לפרק את גדודי החמאס ובמקביל לפעול ליצירת אלטרנטיבה שלטונית לא עוינת. מאז אוקטובר אני שב ומעלה את הנושא ברציפות בדיוני הקבינט המצומצם והמורחב ללא תשובה. סופה של המערכה הצבאית במעשה המדיני. היום שאחרי חמאס יושג רק על ידי שליטה של גורמים פלסטינים בליווי בינלאומי שיהוו חלופה שלטונית לחמאס. זה לפני הכל אינטרס ישראלי. לצערי, התוכנית לא הובאה לכך. לא הובאה חלופה אחרת לדיון במקומה. אי החלטה משמעותה החלטה בפועל. כתוצאה ממציאות זו, מתפתחת מגמה מסוכנת, המקדמת ממשל צבאי ואזרחי ישראלי ברצועת עזה. זוהי חלופה רעה ומסוכנת למדינת ישראל, אסטרטגית, ביטחונית וצבאית.
Gaza's wounded are desperate for Rafah crossing to reopen. One of the victims is desperate to get her wounded son, Mohammed, out of Gaza for the medical treatment that doctors say they cannot provide in the Palestinian enclave. 5-year-old Mohammed lost his sight and suffered a head wound during Israeli shelling. But like many other wounded Palestinians, is stuck in a Gaza hospital waiting because the Rafah crossing on the border with Egypt is closed. Egypt blames the closure on Israeli military operations around Rafah. Israel, which seized control of the crossing last week, said on Tuesday it was up to Egypt to reopen it, remarks described by Cairo as a desperate attempt to shift the blame. The closure has not only left foreign aid piling up on the Egyptian side of the border as a humanitarian crisis in Gaza worsens. It has also shut down the vital evacuation routes for people in Gaza needing urgent medical care abroad.
The doctors here did what they could, but we still need the authorities to cooperate with us and open the border crossing, because this is a child, and we would want him to live like other children in the world. He has the right to treatment. He has the right for medical care.
I was wounded for the sake of a bag of flour. I got 10 shots. 8 shots were from a tank in my leg, 1 shot in my pelvis, and a shot in my hand, of course. Up until now, I'm suffering from the pain. I don't have any treatment. There is no treatment in the hospital.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken has announced a $2 billion fund to help Ukraine build its defense industrial base. This comes as he concluded after Russia opened up a new front in its war last week. Blinken said the United States was working to quickly ammunition and weapons to the front lines in order to help Ukrainian forces fight a new Russian ground incursion into the northeastern Kharkiv region, which provided a gloomy backdrop to his fourth visit to Kiev since Russia's February 2022 full-scale invasion. Blinken said the new funding, in the form of a first-of-its-kind defense enterprise fund, was coming at a crucial time and would help Kiev.
President Joe Biden and Donald Trump that could shake up and will host the first forum on June the 27th in the key swing state of Georgia. ABC will host the second one on September the 10th. The announcement came after President Biden, a Democrat, laid out his terms for debates in his Republican election. CNN said there will be no audience at the June debate in Atlanta, which will be moderated by host really early for an election year. ABC said its presenters, David Moy and Lindsay Davis, would moderate the second debate, but the network has not specified a location.
And Britain's opposition leader, Keir Starmer, will set out 6 priorities for his party. This is if it wins power, including economic stability, and a challenge to the governing Conservatives ahead of an election later this year. Starmer, who has dragged his party towards the center ground of British politics after it pursued left-wing policies under his predecessor, is offering a vision more reminiscent of Labour under former Prime Minister Tony Blair, who won 3 elections for the party a generation ago.
To California, where police took back a lecture hall from pro-Palestinian protesters who for hours occupied the building at the university. Officers from about 10 nearby law enforcement agencies converged on the campus after university officials requested help because protesters had occupied the lecture hall, leading the school to declare it a violent protest. About 4 hours later, police had ejected the protesters from both the lecture hall and the plaza that had been the site of the demonstration at Ibadan is the latest in a series of campus protests across the United States over the war in Gaza, in which activists have called for a ceasefire and the protection of civilian lives while demanding universities diverse.
It means that technology like artificial intelligence and cloud computing are being used for direct harm. And that's really painful to me, and I don't think it needs to be that way.
Absolutely. Our job is to stop that. And a lot of us wake up with a sense of urgency every single day. We wake up, we know that there are children that are going to be killed, and that we need to be doing everything and fighting like hell to stop that.
The death of a 20-year-old motorist in a suburban Denver suburb last year smashed through her windshield. A second adolescent pleaded guilty. 19-year-old Nicholas Carroll Chick entered into a plea agreement with prosecutors, admitting to second-degree murder and violent crime. He claimed to have given a rock to another teenager named Joseph Koenig, who threw it at Alexa Bartel's automobile in April 19th, 2023, killing her. With Koenig and Zachary Quack, who also entered guilty pleas last week. And earlier in the year, Carol Chick also admitted to trying to kill 9 people that night with rocks.
Now, watching Newsday, plenty more still ahead, including Benin reverses its decision to block Niger's oil exports. Details on this when we return. To stay with us.
Africa sits on the brink of unparalleled transformation. Institutions are at the forefront, redefining banking for the modern age with digital solutions that transcend borders and bold partnerships that support finance. Not just banking, it's a blueprint for the Africa of tomorrow. Access more than banking.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, bank.
And welcome back to Newsday. Benin Republic has provisionally reversed its decision to block crude oil exports from Niger via its port and agreeing to hold a meeting between the two countries. This move follows heightened tensions with Niger, which led Benin to block the exports last week, demanding the reopening of the borders and normalization of relations. Relations between Benin and Niger have been strained since a July 2023 coup in Niger, prompting ECOWAS to impose sanctions, which were lifted in hopes of normalizing trade. However, Niger has kept its borders closed to goods from Benin without formal explanation, leading to further tensions. Niger's prime minister has criticized Benin's blockade, stating it violated and Chinese partners. He cited security reasons for not fully reopening the border with Benin Republic.
Middle East mega carrier Emirates Airlines has announced readiness to resume flight service to Nigeria from October the 1st, 2024. The airline, which suspended flights to Nigeria 2 years ago, announced the planned resumption of flights on its news website. The airline said it will resume October, operating a daily service between Lagos and Dubai and offering customers more choices and connectivity from Nigeria's largest city to and through Dubai. Adnan Kasim, Emirates Deputy President and Chief Commercial Officer, said the company is excited to resume services to Nigeria. He thanked the Nigerian government.
The government says it is committed to pushing the boundaries of innovation and by transitioning communities to uplift Nigerians. The Minister of State for Labor and at a stakeholders engagement session that was organized by the president, compressed natural gas in the initiative, which is part of President Tinubu's relief efforts, are aimed at alleviating by Nigerians due to the removal of fuel subsidy by creating a more sustainable and budget-friendly alternative for fuel. Arise correspondent Omo Bolanle Adeshui has the details.
President Bola Tinubu approved the establishment of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative in August 2023 to ease the impact of fuel subsidy removal on the citizenry by reducing energy costs. In order to achieve this, stakeholders in the energy sector gathered to deliberate on ways to stimulate the adoption of compressed natural gas, which is currently underutilized in Nigeria. Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Nkiruka Onyejiocha, in her address highlighted the prospects for a greener and safer environment with strengthened in-country manufacturing, local assembly, and expansive job creation in line with the presidential directive.
The initiative represents a beacon of hope transport sector, but for the future of our nation as a whole. As we gather here of the pressing need to propel our nation forward, we have to do what we have to do, not just in terms of economic growth, that uplifts every citizen.
The domestication of gas products such as compressed natural gas, CNG, and liquefied natural gas, LPG, with the establishment of gas-based industries have positively impacted national economy.
The premise of removing the fuel subsidy definitely was not to punish Nigerians, especially the transport unions, associations, that is the primary constituency of Mr. President. The premise was to make us adopt cheaper, safer, more reliable energy from the sector so that we can drive our nation forward.
reduce the nation's dependence on mobile issue.
Experts in the environment sector, including community leaders and governments at all tiers, have called for adoption, utilization and implementation of research findings pertaining to extreme events affecting the sub-Saharan African countries. They met the call at the stakeholders meeting titled The Pan-African and Transdisciplinary Lens on the Margins, Tackling the Risk of Extreme Events, held in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. The meeting, according to the speakers and their various remarks, said the project, which will run between now and 2026, is aimed at informing stakeholders in the environment sector about research, specifically focusing on the impact of heat waves on urban residents, especially those living in suburban areas. They say that if adoption and utilization of some research findings are implemented, it will make the work easier for the researchers.
Adoption of the findings, particularly for policy making, and of course it will give these vulnerable people the opportunity to even make input into some of this policy design. And
the Lagos State Task Force has carried out an extensive cleanup exercise along Regional Road in Lekki. The 8-hour-long operation, which was anchored by the chairman of the agency, CSP Shola Jejeloye, environmental and safety and commuters in the state. The CSP described the clearing out carried out by the agency to restore the environment of the metropolis to its original master plan and give room for developmental activities which have been witnessed across the state. He further disclosed that during the process of restoring sanctity in Lekki, 220 commercial bikes, popularly known as Okadas, along the Victoria Island, Bordelon, Falama, Ikeja, Ojodu Burger, and Fagba in a week-long operation.
Forum of former members of the Rivers State House of Assembly have criticized the faction of the Assembly for what they call a campaign of calumny against Governor Siminalayi Fubara following his recent unscheduled visit to the lawmakers. According to the pro-Fubara lawmakers, the governor's visit to the Assembly quarters was a normal routine to inspect government properties under his and backed by law. Correspondent Andy Omanu.
The ex-lawmakers did not only accuse the Martin Amaewhule-led assembly, it also captured some loyalists of Governor Fubara's predecessor and FCT Minister Nyesom Wike of public sentiments against the incumbent governor. A member of the Rivers State Night Assembly, Sokolo Solomon, read the communique of the forum at the media interaction in Port Harcourt.
We make bold to state that the quarters lacks a clinic, which is a basic function of any living quarters. Imagine what would have happened should a medical emergency arise in the middle of the night where there's no relief in sight due to the absence of a clinic. Such a tragedy is better imagined than experienced. The sporting and recreational facilities that used to be in existence is no longer there. At least we know what a living quarters should consist of. But we see how downgraded the design is because the former governor, Ezenwo Nyesom Wike, did not rank the assembly highly and as such never bothered about the basic facilities. When has it become a crime for a government to come at a time where our friends in the 10th Assembly dug a pit for themselves and fell into it, thereby losing the membership of the Assembly?
Former Chief Whip, Rivers State House of Assembly and Director General Simplified Movement, Evans BP, speaks on why the embattled lawmakers are apprehensive.
His visit to Assembly quarters is not to bring down any property or not to destroy any property. He only visits. He's the landlord. He has the right to visit anywhere. He just stopped by to see how the quarters look like, if there are any issue or any complaint will be given to him, whatever. But the fears, the senior on it when nobody pursued.
The spokesperson of the forum also lashed former Speaker of the House, Ikunyi Owaji Ibani, for criticizing Governor Fubara even when his leadership of the then assembly was flat-footed.
He could not speak when members were denied their allowances, which was due to them by the former governor, Ezenwo Nyesom Wike. He could not speak when the assembly members were furnishing their offices and procuring office consumables to enable their assembly members carry out their legislative responsibilities to state government with their salaries. He could not also speak when clutching a file close to his chest containing memos of members' allowances that he moved with trepidation towards the former governor, and he was warned not to dare approach the former governor's job when we made several visitation requests to Wike.
Recall the Martin Amaewhule-led assembly and some past and present political office holders in Rivers State, including the minority leader of the House of Representatives, Kingsley Chinda, had alleged Governor Fubara has firmed up plans to either renovate or demolish the assembly quarters for reconstruction. According to this group loyal to the FCT minister, the ploy was to surreptitiously evict them from the facilities. Members of the forum are drawn from both the 4th to the 9th Rivers State House of Assembly. The Port Harcourt is Andy Omanu, RIS News.
Well, time now for a short break. More when we return on Newsday. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Newsday. Torrential rains compounded by strong winds have destroyed electric poles and cables along the Ele-Jericho Road in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The heavy downpour, which started 9:30 a.m. Thursday morning, blazed through late noon, cutting off power supply and affecting business activities. A cross-section of residents who spoke with the Rise News crew blamed the incident on negligence, calling on the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company to critically assess power infrastructure across the state in order to forestall wanton loss of lives and destruction of properties.
Time that the rain wanted to fall, I wanted to cross the road. So suddenly I just saw the pole fell. I need to cross back. So that is the only thing that I see. And as I came outside now, I see all the wire on the road everywhere. The pole fell down, even all the streets full of wire.
I came to DSTV to recharge, to pay subscription, and I was told that, okay, I cannot enter until 10 o'clock. The only place I can park is this place, which is off the road. I parked there, not up to 3-4 minutes. You know, there was heavy cloud, and I noticed that rain was about to fall with heavy breeze. The next thing I saw was this pole calling me down. And I had to just move, steal my tires, and I had to park the car there. And immediately everything fell down. So it was after the rain, they now stepped on this thing and I drove out. It's unfortunate. You see, we should have this culture. When you see something, you say something. Because I knew that definitely this pole is not like this. People must have seen it, but nobody cares about it. Nobody cares.
Well, the Swedish government has resolved to return 39 pieces of Benin artifacts to her museum to the custody of the Oba of Benin, Eware II. The disclosure followed the Federal Republic of Nigeria's Gazette number 57, volume 110, at pages A245 to 247, issued on the 23rd of March in 2023, which recognized ownership and vesting custody and management of repatriated Benin artifacts in the Oba of Benin. A statement by the chief press secretary to the Oba said the Swedish ambassador to Nigeria, Her Excellency Anika Han Eglund, conveyed the Swedish government's decision when she paid a courtesy visit to the Oba of Benin's palace in Benin City, Edo State. He said the ambassador informed the royal father that Sweden and Nigeria, which are the second largest market in sub-Saharan Africa, are trading partners, including infrastructure, telecommunication, energy, and other businesses that supported the economies significantly.
Kano State Chief Judge Justice DJ Abdul Aboki has transferred the case of an alleged corruption case involving the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, and 7 others. The case, which was before a Kano High Court number 4, sitting at Audu Bako, presided by Justice Usman Malam Naaba, has been transferred to Court 7, sitting at Mile Road, presided by Justice Amina Adamu. Confirming the development on Thursday, the Public Relations Officer of the Kano State High Court, Baba Jibo Ibrahim, said the Office of the Chief Justice of the state has the power to direct and transfer a case at any stage, so far it has not reached the level of judgment. Baba Jibo did not provide any reason for the action. Ganduje, wife, son, and 5 others were charged on an 8-count charge bordering on bribery, diversion, and misappropriation of funds, among others, running into billions of naira.
And a report released by the Citizens Gavel Foundation for Social Justice, a civic tech organization, has revealed that the judiciary is facing credibility crises. Arise correspondent Friday Oloko reported that 92% of Nigerians, according to the report, have lost confidence in the system.
Presenting the report titled Assessing Judicial Integrity, Challenges and Recommendations for Reforms in Nigeria, Executive Director of Citizens Gavel, Nelson Olanikbekun, called on the National Judicial Council to reform the judiciary.
If you feel the pulse of the community, the Nigerian community, you know that there's a huge confidence issue around judiciary, and you cannot change what you can't measure. And that necessitated for us to get the necessary data, speak to Nigerians, speak to lawyers, speak to judges about the situation in the judiciary. And that was where we came up with these data in these reports, reflecting 92% of Nigerians are not having confidence in judiciary. The government, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the NJC, should have a look at this report and see how they can start reforming judiciary one step at a time. The country needs the last hope of the common man to be able to protect them.
A former chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, Abuja branch, Falari Aluko, says the leadership of the judiciary should be held responsible for any infractions bordering on lack of transparency and accountability.
The leadership of the judiciary should be held responsible. And by leadership of judiciary, we're talking about judiciary at the highest level, from the level of the Chief Justice of Nigeria to all the various heads of court, and of course the lower courts in the states. And at the same time also followers as well, because the judiciary is an arm of government that is unelected. And so what it means is that because it is unelected and it is also the closest to the common man, we as citizens also must take an interest in what happens in the judiciary.
The executive director of Digital Civic Initiative says Nigeria got it wrong because it puts square pegs in round holes.
We have been biased by tribal and ethnical sentiments, and then of course religious sentiments. All these things play a huge role. And once we do not put people who are competent and people who are patriotic and passionate about the country to handle such positions, that's when they apply to do so. Then that's where the problem comes on.
While the head of Civic Hive recommends that appropriate big sticks should be wielded on bad eggs in the judiciary to serve as deterrents to others, a legal associate says social justice is collective responsibility.
What we need to do is to again turn our attention to those authorities to say, how much of these are you using? And let's see how they deal with that.
Although the findings will be made available to government, experts are of the view that the report underscores the urgent necessity for comprehensive reforms to bring credibility to the judicial process in Nigeria.
Newsday returns in a moment. Please stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
See yourself in our streams. You, the soft life queen driven by ambition. You, the resilient man making Odogu moves. Here, we stream for you. Every swipe is not just an archive of shows, it's a reflection of our realities. So when you hit that play button, find the stories that breathe and speak to you. The new Showmax is here, the land of streams.
Showmax, streaming for Africa.
Good to have you back here on Newsday. Inadequate funding and a 200 billion naira debt are amongst the main reasons for the delay in the resuscitation of the 253 megawatt Niger Delta Power Holding Company's power generation, whose transmission line was gutted by fire. This was disclosed in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State during a visit by the House of Representatives Committee on Power. Arise News correspondent Theophilus Agidi reports.
The visit of the House of Representatives Committee on Power followed a motion by the member representing Yenagoa Kolokoma Opokoma Federal Constituency of Boku Ofoji, who informed on a fire incident which affected the Bahrain transmission station, throwing most parts of Bayelsa State into darkness for more than 8 months. Before proceeding on the assignment, the committee members, led by its chairman, Victor Uwokolo, first paid a courtesy call on the Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Lawrence Erujagbo, at the government house in Yenagoa.
The poverty of power is actually the real poverty we are having, not poverty of Naira and Kobo. Because if there is power, my mother who is in the village there, she will be able to preserve her food. The barber in the village will not be buying so much diesel or so much petrol to power his affairs by neighbor, to barb here in the village. So we are very happy that both of you, your colleague in the Senate and yourself in the House of Reps, have worked with other colleagues to make sure that this issue has been actually dismantled and we now all have access and equal capacity to seek power and provide power for our people. We have also, in our own way, started looking for a way of partnering with veritable, viable, and prospective investors to invest in power.
During inspection visits to the Bahrain transmission station and the NDPHC power plant at Korama, tempers flared occasionally.
We don't have even that thing that are you sure it's not a conspirator?
Having seen what has been invested here and it is not working, nobody will be happy, because the thing can pay itself, can stand alone by the time it begins to work. Now you can say that it's lying idle. We'll hold further dialogue with them to see how can we get out of where we are. Because on the other side, the feeder pillar supplying greater part of Yenagoa is out of it, it's not working. They've laid cable, but they can't complete it. And when we went to the store, what we saw, what they say is called materials that is available, is actually not what we think that can do the job. So the bottom line of the both places is, for now, is funding. But I also think that there are also other underlying factors.
At the time, we couldn't take the two projects on at the same time because of limitation in our finances. We've had close to 200 billion being owed to NDPAC forever. That's as they're paying, they're accumulating more. As they're paying, they're accumulating more. The government at the highest level, they are addressing that as we speak right now.
No. Federal lawmaker Oboku Ofoji is unhappy with the delay in fully resuscitating the NDPHC's power station. He accused its management of insincerity.
The PCM that got burned was out of negligence. The huge investment, billions of dollars invested here. No private sector will allow this thing to happen, including the fact if the MD here, if it is owned by him, he will be more serious in managing this huge investment than what I am seeing.
Meanwhile, the NDPHC managing director has hinted at the possibility of fixing the problem within the next 6 months. Theophilus Agidi, Arise News.
In commemoration of the International Coaching Week, stakeholders within the coaching community came together to spotlight the significance of coaching and its aim in increasing public awareness and providing a forum for professional development. The founding president of the International Coaching Federation, Ajibola Monle, underscored the transformative role of coaches. She highlighted their capacity to guide individuals towards self-discovery and behavioral transformation. Through various training and development programs, Monle stressed that coaching offers fresh perspectives that contribute to personal growth and societal advancement.
coaching is actually a personal relationship between, so the coach basically, their role is to partner with clients, hold them accountable to the different goals that they achieve, and also be a cheerleader, a motivator in helping them to achieve whatever their goals are in life.
So coaches, professional coaches can coach people who are in any industry, during any ages. We say coaching changes lives. And one of the richest men in the world, Bill Gates, said, everybody needs a coach. Everyone needs a coach. So whether you're a CEO, sometimes when you're coaching CEOs, sometimes CEOs will say, but I have built this enterprise, why do I need to have a coach? And we say, well, many times what got you there cannot take you to the next level. You know, coaching really helps to transform corporate leaders, political leaders, and all that. We all have areas that many times we're struggling with. So you may be very good as a manager, for instance, very good at your job in delivering numbers, in increasing market share, but maybe you have an issue with how you manage people, how you speak to your staff, whether you're toxic in nature, maybe people are leaving because you're too tough. Sometimes that coach will come, not to tell you how to do your core work, but in those areas that are maybe causing difficulties, limiting your career opportunities, the coach would help you to navigate those challenges.
This is the International Coaching Week. It is something that we celebrate every year, and the purpose for it is to expand the awareness of the coaching practice to the general public, as well as to an opportunity for coaches to come together and connect and network and get to find out what are the challenges that we have practicing our profession in Nigeria and how to get better. And it's done globally, everywhere, all around the world, in over 143 countries.
Men and women of faith have been advised to participate in active politics so as to bring about the desired changes that will translate to growth and development of the state and the country. The issue topped the agenda at the one-day consultation with Christian leaders in the state as convened by Pastor Sage Ize-Yamu in collaboration with the association known as the Christian in Leadership for Societal Development. The essence of the program is to allow stakeholders brainstorm on major challenges mitigating against the growth of the state and look ahead.
It's an error to say that politics is dirty and so we should not go near there. It's an error. The only way we can take charge of the government of the day is through politics. If we want to have good government, if we want to have good policies, we need to have men and women who fear God.
We've come to present our candidate to them, and the candidate had opportunity to interact with them and to share with them what his thoughts are and what he will do differently. I think it's extremely important for us because it's not just what you might call a rented crowd. These are very seasoned, listening to their speeches and comment. You know, these are believers, and they have no reason to say they will support you if they are not convinced, if God has not inspired them, so to say. And that is why I think that their position, which is positive, is extremely important for us and for the candidate.
When I contested for Senate, the first time I see the name of God being glorified, people started saying he carried grace. That is the first time I knew that people carry grace during election. I remember one particular time somebody asked me, a day to election, where are your talks? I said, I do not have talks, but I have the angels of God around me.
At least 24 worshippers, including 4 children, were injured in Kano State after a man attacked the mosque where they were praying early Wednesday morning, resulting in an explosion. Police spokesman Abdullahi Aruna said in a statement that the suspect, a 38-year-old resident of the area, confessed that he attacked the mosque in Kano's remote Garden village purely in hostility following a prolonged family disagreement. Haruna said preliminary forensic analysis suggested a gasoline explosion, but a full investigation is still ongoing. The police have also cordoned off the scene while the injured were rushed to a hospital in the state capital.
Well, you've been watching Newsday with me, Hawa Mukhan.
And I'm Temi Chokwe Fagbemi. Goodbye and thanks for watching. Global Business Report is next. Stay with us.
In a world where you can be anything, choose to make more out of it. So, whether you're a corporate, individual business, or entrepreneur, you can make the extra cash you need by signing up as an Access Closer agent to provide common banking services like cash withdrawal, cash transfer, buy airtime, bill payment, account opening, deposit money in your neighborhood. To register, all you need is to visit any Access Bank branch with a valid identification card, your NIN, your utility bill, your business registration documents, and a minimum capital of 50,000 naira. Access more than banking. In a world where you can be anything, choose to make more out of it. So,
Good afternoon, sir. Please, I need a room to rent in your house.
Okay, where do you work?
I'm a nurse.
That means you won't owe me rent. Congratulations, young lady. You have yourself a house.
Well, thank you so much, sir. So, how much is the rent?
90,000 naira. Oh, but wait, where are you from?
I am from Akamata.
Akamata what? Akamata in my house? If you know how you got into my house, please get out right away. My spirit and that of Akamata people don't have anything to do together.
Sir, what have I done?
Your people from Akamata are known for bad things. That is what they represent, and you can't live in my house. Just get out right away.
What's going on?
Leave my house, young lady.
Yes, our differences extend to our languages, culture, food, and even belief. But we are bound together by the cord of love. With one heart, with one voice, we will make Nigeria a hub of greatness, a place where the people live as one.
This message is brought to you from the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, with support from the UK government.
You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Proudly independent for more than a decade. Always bold, always fresh. Winner of several awards, local and global. Winner of TV Channel of the Year from peers at the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria Awards. Winner of an Emmy from America's National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Still, we're changing the conversation to make sense of your world. We'll do it together, because now more than ever, you need a clear voice to guide you home. Arise News, awards, and beyond.
Hello and welcome to Arise News. You're watching the Global Business Report. I'm Abby Olawi, coming to you from Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos. Let's take a look at some of the stories currently making headlines across the business world today. China vows resolute measures after Biden's new tariffs. And still in China, the country is considering government purchases to unsold homes to help its property market. The European Commission says Eurozone inflation is set to fall faster than previously expected this year. And that is not the case in Nigeria, as inflation climbs to a fresh 28-year high in Africa's most populous nation. US stocks were a little changed on Thursday as the Dow Jones Industrial Average tried to reach a key milestone. The Dow Jones gained 0.08%, the S&P 500 rose marginally, while the Nasdaq Composite traded just below the flat line. In the week ending May 11th, the number of US residents applying for unemployment insurance benefits climbed to 222,000, the US Department of Labor announced on Thursday. A little bit over the initial estimate of 220,000, the prints were lower than the previous week's growth of 232,000. Now, still on inflation in the United States, the Consumer Price Index cooled slightly in April after 3 elevated readings. Consumer prices rose by 0.3% from March to April on Wednesday and down slightly 0.4% the previous month. Measured year-over-year inflation tickled down from 3.5% to 3.4%, and a gauge of underlying inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy costs, reached its lowest level in 3 years. China has resisted the Biden administration's move to increase U.S. tariffs on a wide range of Chinese imports, vowing to take its own action without giving specifics. President Joe Biden is hiking tariffs on imports from China, with rates ranging from 25% for lithium-ion batteries to 50% for semiconductors and solar cells to as much as 100% for electric vehicles. The announcement was a culmination of a review of predecessor Donald Trump's tariff increases, none of which were rolled back. Now, here's an excerpt from China's Ministry of Commerce's statement, which states China will take resolute measures to safeguard its own rights and interests. The U.S. should immediately correct its wrong actions and cancel the additional tariff measures against China. There was further comment from Liu Pengyu, China's embassy spokesperson, who said, and I quote, "We want to tell our U.S. colleagues that blaming others won't make you more competitive. Stop using overcapacity as an excuse for trade protectionism. Stop politicizing economic and trade issues." On the U.S. side, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen stressed the need to protect U.S. businesses and said she doesn't believe the tariffs will lead to significant price increases. She said, and I quote, "It is very important to protect our workers and our firms in these strategic sectors from the kind of dumping that results when China develops massive overcapacity in these areas. I don't believe that American consumers will see any meaningful increase in the prices that they face." Still in China, the country is considering a proposal to have local governments across the country buy millions of unsold homes in what would be one of the most ambitious attempts yet to salvage the beleaguered property market. The State Council is seeking feedback from several provinces and government entities on the preliminary plan. European stocks turned lower Thursday as earnings weighed in a relief rally for global markets following softer than expected U.S. inflation data. The Stoxx 600 index was down 0.14%, London's FTSE dropped 0.02%, while Germany's DAX lost 0.54%, and France's CAC 40 dropped 0.51%. Over in Europe, inflation in the Eurozone is set to drop faster than previously expected this year, according to updated EU estimates. The European Commission on Wednesday said annual inflation in the single currency bloc is set to drop to 2.5% this year before reaching the European Central Bank's 2% target in the second half of 2025. In its previous forecast in February, the Commission projected a more gradual decrease to 2.7% in 2024 and 2.2% next year. Afoso Aluyo, head of investments at Sankara Global Investments, joined me earlier to discuss this further. Let's take a look.
I think the weaker than expected CPI number, coupled with the retail sales number as well that we saw yesterday. Month-on-month CPI came in at 0.3%. The market had expected a print of 0.4%. And this translated into a year-on-year print of 3.4% as against the previous print that we saw at 3.5%. So this weaker than expected number, coupled with the retail sales number that was essentially flat, right? The market was expecting a 0.4% jump in retail sales. So all of these essentially allude to the fact that, the disinflationary trend that we had seen towards the end of last year is sort of continuing. And on the back of that, we saw U.S. stocks really rally. I mean, the S&P was up about 1.17%, crossing the 5,300 mark for the first time. Important to also note that this was its 23rd record close this year. It's been a very, very strong year. If you look at the NASDAQ as well, it closed about 1.42%. Its 8th record close this year. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 88 basis points. Its 18th record close this year. So, the weaker than expected print has proven very significantly positive for the market. If you even look at the Treasury market as well, we saw the 2-year and the 10-year Treasury yields decline by 10 and 9 basis points respectively to about 4.34 and 4.72. So overall, this number provided what I'll call positive sentiment for the market. If you even look at the Fed funds futures, it's now pricing in a 75.3% chance of a rate cut in September. If you looked at that number on Tuesday, it was 65.1. So it tells you that this, weaker than expected inflation or CPI print, coupled with the weaker than expected retail sales print, has provided very significant, positive sentiments, for the market, really.
And like you said, there's been strong performance for a while, so there's a bit of leeway there. But how do you suppose Jerome Powell and the U.S. Fed will review these numbers? And does it mean anything for U.S. monetary policy?
Yeah, so I think, Chairman J. Powell has really reiterated the fact that they will continue to look at the data. And I think this is just one data point yet, right? If you look at that, inflation year-on-year number, it's still higher than the 1-year average. It's still higher than the year-to-date average. So it's just one, data point really. And they've actually reiterated the fact that they will need, a couple of months of sustainable disinflationary trend, for the Fed to actually move. So I don't think that it changes anything significantly. I think the market reaction is, something that the market really had been looking forward to, right? It was basically what the market wanted to see, and it played into what the market, wanted, But in terms of monetary policy, this is just one data point. We will need to see inflation for a couple more months. We need to see job numbers for a couple more months for us to get to the point where we, are sure that the Federal Reserve will begin to start to cut. But I think another positive thing is the fact that the Fed had hinted at the fact that, a rate hike really wasn't on the cards at this time. So that continues to provide, positive support for broader market momentum, really.
So a bit more monitoring before we have any sort of certainty as to what the direction is. Well, across the pond in Europe, we've seen the EU Commission now review downwards its inflation forecast for this year and the next year. What are the triggers here?
I think that on the inflation front, the EU has probably fared better than what we've seen in the US. The impact of the Red Sea trade route closure has been significantly milder than had been anticipated, and that has even led to a decrease in the cost of food and other items that the European Commission had expected would grow quite significantly. So on the back of that, there have been these revisions that have seen inflation expectation dialed back. The expectation was that we'll see inflation close this year at 2.7%. That has been revised down to 2.5%, and that in 2025 we're going to see inflation hit the ECB mark around 2%. And this just continues to support the narrative of the ECB actually moving first or moving before the Fed to normalize or to cut interest rates.
Right, but talking about the ECB, like the US Fed, what does this review then mean for Christine Lagarde and the rate path for the ECB?
I think it provides more impetus for the ECB really to be on that path to cut, which they had essentially been on, if you will, over the last couple of months, really. So, this further downward revision, in the CPI expectation just gives further impetus to the ECB to, pretty much normalize or cut interest rates, as we see it.
Okay, that's quite an outlook on it, which is fair enough. Now, back to the U.S. and let's look at this Biden tariffs. Do you believe that the 100% is a bit excessive? How do you view those hikes?
I think these are largely protectionist moves that would at best delay, the influx of Chinese EVs into the U.S. market. it would at best delay it. I don't think it would prevent it. I think, the U.S. government right now is reacting to and trying to claw back really a lot of lost time, if you will. If you recall, the Inflation Reduction Act really is at the heart of this, where you are looking at a lot of grants to EVs and clean technology in the U.S. However, if you look at what has happened in China over the last couple of years, there's been very heavy subsidies going towards EV producers in China that the U.S. is fearing will lead to overcapacity and could then lead to dumping. But nevertheless, I think these are largely protectionist moves. I don't think it would prevent those Chinese EVs from coming into the US. For instance, and I think that they could be potentially inflationary. The only challenge there really is that these tariffs apply to just only about 18 billion worth of goods. In 2023, imports from China into the US was about 427 billion. So this is just about slightly above 4% really. So the impact of which I don't expect to be really, really significant. But then if you look at BYD, for instance, it's an EV player in China. It has this small EV called the Seagull. It costs about $10,000, right? With 100% tariff, right? That EV still appears from a price point much more competitive than most of the EVs in America. So I don't know that it significantly changes, anything really. But I think these are, largely symbolic moves that are, largely protectionist. And, I don't think that it changes anything, significantly.
Right. I mean, it's about national interests first, right? But,
absolutely.
China is kicking back and not taking this news, very likely. But they haven't also revealed any sort of retaliatory, plans or moves yet. Do you believe this is inflammatory enough? I'm talking with regards to the 100% tariff. Is this inflammatory enough to lead to some sort of trade war like we had with the Trump administration? I
don't think that we would necessarily have a trade war, as the case may be. But I think that it is only expected that China will certainly kick and sort of react to this. Like I said, it's really a small portion of, the trade between the U.S. and China. But again, it is also very symbolic. So you would expect that China would certainly, react to this. It really remains to be seen what retaliatory moves China would make. But I think that what the U.S. is really trying to do is to, protect its own EV industry. But I think overall, this might not necessarily bode well for, the global clean energy agenda at the end of the day, because it tends to distort and limit, fair competition, if you will. So I think those are some of the key challenges that we kind of need to grapple with going forward.
Does China have a right to retaliate? I mean, from a protectionist point of view, I would expect that it's something that would equally affect the U.S. in terms of trade, right? What do you see any of that being on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely have the right to retaliate, but I think the critical question is really how do you retaliate, right? What do you do exactly? Yeah. If you look at U.S. Exports to China, they're just slightly under $150 billion, right? And a lot of it is largely agricultural produce. So where do you retaliate? And these are things that China really does need. So where do you retaliate? Again, if you look at what has been happening, there's a lot of Chinese capacity that has been ramped up in Mexico. Right. So what's happening? This tariff really is targeting products that are coming in from China. It doesn't say anything about products that are coming in from elsewhere that are Chinese products. So you could still see a lot of those Chinese products flow through the U.S. from Mexico because there's a lot of Chinese capacity that's been built up just south of the U.S. border. So that's another thing to grapple with at the end of the day.
But what are the immediate effects of this for consumers within these markets?
Right. Like I said, it portends to be inflationary, right? So there is that impact there. But again, if you look at the overall picture, this portion is really small in terms of the overall export, from China into the United States.
All right. In wrapping up very briefly, please, still on China, what do you make of the consideration to purchase unsold homes by local government?
I mean, I think it's another move again by China to kind of try and deal with this beleaguered property sector. Home sales plunged 47% in the first 4 months of this year. Unsold inventories sit pretty much at about an 8-year high. China has tried to do this before with, not much success really. And the idea really is to have state-owned enterprises and local governments buy these homes. However, if you look at the state of these state-owned enterprises and local government, they are really bogged down with a lot of debt. At the end of 2022, corporate debt in China was about 29 trillion. That's pretty much the same debts of the United States as at that period. So the leeway or the room for these state-owned enterprises to sort of maneuver and buy up these properties, it seems very limited. However, China is currently looking to issue an ultra-long bond, 1 trillion yuan, about $138 billion, tenor ranging from between 20 and 50 years. I understand that the first issue will come out tomorrow. So maybe this will form part of the funding for that, remains to be seen. But again, there are estimates that say China requires about 7 trillion yuan to take care of this property issue. So again, it's a lot, and these are steps that I believe that ultimately might be able to take care of the problem, but it really does remain to be seen.
You're watching the Global Business Report here in Arise News. Coming up, Nigeria's inflation soars to 33.69% amid higher food, energy and commodity prices. Details shortly. Stay with us.
Where is Glory?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Hello? Where Glow now?
I dare here.
Glow don't go village. Tell all our customer abi.
Everybody pay attention. See, now Glow berekete 10x. Now him I they take tension my customers. Now him they dash me 10 times the credits when I load. Or even summer me double data join.
Yeah. Wait, so with 1.5 when they give all of us, so you they enjoy up to 15,000 naira credit and data.
And I say I never finish you. See, now say if we enjoy, if we not join Glow berekete 10x, una go get 1,000 naira welcome credits. Finish.
Glow, you don't win.
Una see they here. Hello, please, I'm looking for Glow. Please save now Glow with they fine. Now Glow with they go. Okay, so
enjoy 10 times the value of your recharge on Glow Berekete 10X. You also get 1,000 naira for calls and data and double data bonus on your subscription.
As a Fidelity customer, you can take your bank with you wherever you go on our mobile app and star 770# instant banking platform. Open up a world of opportunities and banking from anywhere without data or internet connection using the code star 770#. Need to transfer funds? No problem. Pay bills from the comfort of your home? No problem. Buy airtime and check data on the move. Account balance, account opening, and more. No problem. At home or on the go, our mobile app offers all the convenience of online banking, as well as being able to apply for fast loans and earn loyalty reward points. Fidelity Electronic Banking. Take your bank with you wherever you go. We are Fidelity. We keep our word.
Welcome back to the Global Business Report. Now, the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics reports that in April 2024, the headline inflation rate increased by 4.49 points to 33.69%. When comparing year-over-year data, the rate inflation in April 2024 was 11.47% greater than that of April 2023. This suggests that throughout the previous year, there had been a notable increase in the headline inflation rate. Additionally, the month-to-month inflation rate for April 2024 was 2.29%, a decrease of 0.73% from the 3.02% rate reported in March 2024. This implies that prices climbed in April 2024 at a slower rate than they did in March 2024. A big announcement was made during the first panel session at the ongoing Africa CEO Forum in Kigali, Rwanda. Chairman of Access Holdings plc, Aiboje Aigimokwede, announced a super NGO with seed funding of $300 million, made up of $200 million from Access Bank and $100 million from the Aigimokwede Foundation. $1 billion is the next target. He later shared more details with Arise business correspondent Rota Sudiri.
I think that the private sector and the public sector, CEOs, government, NGOs, have to work together much better. And indeed, we've been brainstorming around an issue that's in Access Bank and my foundation, the Agimakwe Foundation. And we've determined to do something, and it's an invitation for us all to work together on this. And this is to create, call it a super NGO, that will fund government initiatives that have a game-changing impact on African economies. Okay? Access Bank has committed $200 million as startup funding for it. My NGO, the Agimakwe Foundation, $100 million. That's $300 million. We should push for $1 billion. MTN, I'm sure, will come in. But the whole idea is this. If in India, you have the India stack, and in 10 years, 1.3 billion Indians have digital IDs and have the capacity to do all kinds of things, we can do, and that costs $1 billion, by the way, okay? Sure. There is so much that can be achieved in Africa if we come together and work in that regard.
Well, I think we are trying to do more than raise $1 billion. The idea here is that when the private sector and the public sector come together in Africa, we're able to overcome a number of the constraints and the things that stop us from achieving the type of groundbreaking progress that you find in Asia and, if you like, North America and Europe. And the whole idea here is that we create this funding vehicle where public servants and governments across Africa, of course including Nigeria, okay, can approach us and say, for instance, you know, in India, you have the India stack, and the fundamental premise is a digital ID. And we want to roll out a digital ID project, for instance, for Nigeria or for Ghana, okay? Now, we know that the hard work is really putting together the foundation team, the team that would think through the concept, the team that would think through the legal issues, the team that would address the issues of financing, the issues of operations, and the issue of governance. And typically, when such public sector initiatives are thought through, surprisingly, this fundamental funding is very difficult to come by. And because it's difficult to come by, you then find a lot of frustration and people walk away. There's so many opportunities like that in Africa, particularly in Nigeria, that I know of, where the thing that is standing between a great idea, a great opportunity to move Nigeria forward is that initial funding, that initial ability to put together the professors, the academics, the consultants that will make it a bankable opportunity. And that's what this Super NGO is being set up for. And so, of course, the initial funding will be put together, contributed by Access Bank and the Agimakwe Foundation. But as I signal to the world, we want more. It's not about us, but it's also for all of us.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Ernest Addison, says investments in African fintechs are important to drive innovation across the continent. Speaking at the opening formalities of a 3-day Pan-African Summit on Fintech and Digital Economy in Accra on Tuesday, the central bank chief joined other African policy leaders to discuss the potential of technology in Africa and the scalability of solutions that could support rapid socio-economic development. Let's take a look.
Expansion of mobile network. Distinguished guests, the rapid evolution of technology has impacted all facets of life globally. For the financial sector, actualization of novel technologies in the payment ecosystem has revolutionized business transactions, reshaped customer behavior, and redefined the nature of commerce. Presently, we stand on the precipice of a global digital era, especially with artificial intelligence, and there is now a sense of urgency for Africa to accelerate the digitalization agenda through the 3 I's of innovation, investment, and impactful policies to boost economic growth and development. As Africans, we have an advantage in the digitization race based on the bulging and tech-savvy youthful population, the high mobile phone penetration, the consistent expansion of mobile network access, coupled with the rising homegrown fintech solutions. These factors have provided fertile grounds to accelerate the digitalization agenda across the continent. While these are commendable, it is important to note that despite the lack of requisite investments in African fintechs could slow the pace of innovation and scalability of solutions in achieving the desired impact of a digitized Africa. The general lack of investor visibility is a major challenge for most local fintechs. Without sufficient capital, brilliant ideas, and the prototypes of fintech startup solutions with the potential to address the diverse financial service needs fail to progress to production. The regulatory aspect is another major reason not to ignore the issue of deficient funding in the fintech space. Fintech should have the ability to navigate regulatory requirements and meet compliance standards, which we all agree are non-negotiables, especially in Africa's financial industry. Hence, the need to address the information gap between investors and fintech startups to stimulate the payment ecosystem. Against this background, the goal of the 3i Africa Summit is simple, yet audacious, and that is to share the African fintech narrative, discuss the opportunities and challenges on how to employ digital technology, as well as enhance collaboration among policymakers, investors, and innovators to advance the economic prosperity of the African continent and its partners.
Digital innovation, enabling the competitiveness of our continent, inclusion in terms of financial bankability of small, medium enterprises, of young people. In my opinion, this is the revolution that I believe, leveraging on digital technology, that we should be relying on. So those, again, I want to relate to South Africa, those who say, oh, we are revolutionaries, we're fighting the capitalist system. Yes, but innovation, digital innovation, technology, leveraging on it to advance the objectives of May 1963. In my view, the connection could not be clearer. Couldn't be clearer that our founding mothers and fathers said, we want a Pan-African payment union. And therefore, in the wisdom of our heads of states, we have that particular responsibility today to deploy digital technologies to advance on that vision. And His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is the champion for financial institutions for the entire African Union. I was with Orama yesterday, and we were discussing this particular issue of the sovereignty of the African continent in terms of payment. Because tomorrow I may upset someone in Washington and I won't be able to make payments. I'll be cut out of global payments, architecture, and infrastructure. Because I've upset someone in Washington. Fortunately, my wife is American, so she will mediate on my behalf. The point is, the emerging global geopolitical context, geoeconomic context should compel us as Africans to say, how do we emerge from this particular context, this situation that we are in? I want again to emphasize what His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo often says. Akufo-Addo often says that Africa beyond aid. Africa beyond aid. And again, I quote him, he said, we are not for a white man who is Russian or a white man who is French. We are for Africa. So this, in my opinion, this question of the existential economic sovereignty of our continent is precisely why the African Continental Free Trade Area was established. so that we leverage on this market of 1.4 billion people, which by 2050 is projected to be the 8th or the 7th largest economy in the world, 16.3 trillion United States dollars at that time, 2050, 27 years from now. But if we don't deploy these digital technologies that all of us are going to be discussing today and tomorrow, I don't know that we will reach that objective.
The African Continental Free Trade Area has laid the groundwork for a monumental shift in our economic landscape, a transformation that will reverberate across the length and breadth of our great continent. The numbers speak for themselves. By 2035, the AFCFTA aims to lift some 30 million Africans out of the clutches of extreme poverty, whilst boosting simultaneously the incomes of some 68 million people. The agreement is projected to increase intra-African trade by some 52%, unleashing a wave of economic activity that will generate some 450 billion United States dollars to our collective GDP. These are not mere statistics. They're a testament to the boundless potential that lies within our grasp, a promise of a brighter future for all Africans. But to realize fully these benefits, we must harness the transformative power of fintech and digital innovation. We must embrace the technologies that are reshaping the global economy and make them work for us, tailoring them to the unique needs and challenges of our diverse and dynamic continent. Governments across Africa should invest heavily in the digital infrastructure that will form the backbone of our shared prosperity. We must create policies that foster innovation, encourage entrepreneurship, and attract investment from both within and beyond our borders. We must promote interoperability to reduce transaction costs and delays, tearing down the silos that have hindered our progress for too long. And we must leverage the power of digital identity programs, such as the Ghana card, to improve access to financial services, reduce fraud, and create a more inclusive and equitable economic system. Through public-private partnerships and cross-border collaboration, we can create a seamless and efficient fintech ecosystem that aligns perfectly with the AFCFTA's objective of fully integrated digital African economy. By working together, we can unlock the vast potential of our continent and create a rising tide that lifts all boats from the smallest village to the largest metropolis. Ghana has emerged as a good example of what is possible when we embrace digital transformation. Our e-government initiatives, such as the Ghana card, the Ghana.gov portal, and mobile money interoperability, have reshaped the landscape of public service delivery and expanded financial inclusion to heights that were once thought unimaginable. Today, some 17 million of our fellow citizens now possess a digital ID, linking them seamlessly to the critical services they need to thrive in the modern world. The Ghana.gov portal has facilitated transactions worth some 1.6 billion cedis since its inception in 2019, improving revenue collection, reducing corruption, and in creating a more transparent and accountable system of governance.
You're watching the Global Business Report here on Arise News. Coming up, Tinubu inaugurates 3 gas projects and pledges to wean Nigeria from overdependence on petrol and diesel. Shortly, stay with us.
kids are more than precious to me. Seeing them doing well, healthy and happy brings me so much joy. I know it's my responsibility to ensure they are well nourished. So I use Dangote salt in my cooking. It is high-quality salt that's refined and iodized to give great taste to my meals and also support my family's health and well-being. And it's got a name that I trust. Dangote salt is refined and iodized to help prevent iodine deficiency disorders. So give your family meals that taste delicious and support their well-being with Dangote salt. It's time to care about your salt. Choose quality, choose Dangote salt.
In a world where you can be anything, choose to make more out of it. So, whether you're a corporate, individual business, or entrepreneur, you can make the extra cash you need by signing up as an Access Closer agent to provide common banking services like cash withdrawal, cash transfer, buy airtime, bill payment, account opening, deposit money in your neighborhood. To register, all you need is to visit any Access Bank branch with a valid identification card, your NIN, your utility bill, your business registration documents, and a minimum capital of 50,000 naira. Access, more than banking.
Welcome back to the Global Business Report. Now, according to the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries' monthly oil market report for April, Nigeria's average crude oil output increased slightly from 1.281 million barrels per day. Direct sources from the federal government claim that daily output of crude oil climbed from 1.231 million barrels, gaining 51,000 barrels. The oil cartel's secondary sources of statistics, however, show that the average daily output of oil has decreased by 46,000 barrels to 1.354 million barrels per day. President Bola Tinubu yesterday inaugurated 3 critical gas projects in Delta and Imo states, pledging to reverse Nigeria's overdependence on petrol and diesel to the more efficient natural gas resources. The president spoke virtually at the commissioning of the expansion of the Ashtavinayak hydrocarbon gas processing plant in Delta, the Asa North Ohaji gas processing plant in Ohaji Ebema, and the Obiafu Obricom Oben Transfer Metering Station gas pipeline projects. Tinubu stated that the 3 projects are of utmost importance to him as it significantly increased Nigeria's aspiration to embrace cleaner and more efficient fuels.
To reiterate the federal government's resolve to continue to provide support to deepen domestic gas utilization, increase national power generation capacity, revitalize industries, create new and exciting job opportunities.
2 things have happened in our country today. There is an ample fiscal environment today. The laws are good. It encourages gas development. Taxation is lower. Businesses can make more money from gas in this country. And that's why we are seeing renewed interest in taking investments in the floating LNGs. That's already what is already happening. We are already progressing massively on one other LNG project. I'm not mentioning them because of the non-disclosure agreement with our partners. And there are a number of other floating LNG projects that are now ongoing. And this is really history in the making.
Now, David Boto, our investment research analyst at ARM Securities, joined me earlier today to discuss this further. Let's take a look.
First of all, I'd say we should commend the Tinubu administration for completing these projects in such good time. This project is actually very, very much important for the gas sector. So first of all, I think we can recall that in earlier parts of this year, 2024, we saw that electricity supply had declined by about to about 2,500 megawatts from 4,000 megawatts, which was what it was on previously. This was actually because of a shortage in gas supply from gas suppliers who felt like they were owed and were not paid. This development by the Tinubu administration is going to ensure that there's a 500 MSCFH of gas supply, which would mean a 25% increase in gas supply. It is a wonderful move, and I'm sure that we should see more coming from that.
Yeah, so it's certainly quite promising. And also, we have to emphasize the need to embrace cleaner and more efficient fuels is also a great impetus here. Yeah, but now the president says that he wants to wean Nigeria off the overdependence from, petrol and diesel products. Is this possible?
Yes, I'll say this is very, very much possible. Already, we've seen steps taken by the government with these power plants, with these gas plants, with the AHL gas plants and AOC, ENOH gas plants too, right? So also with the OB3 pipeline, we've seen these are government's efforts, targeted towards improving production for gas. We've also seen, previously when the president made an order to start to integrate CNG vehicles, right? Which would, normally our transport systems are already clogged with petrol vehicles and diesel trucks. CNG vehicles are, more eco-friendly. And CNG is also cheaper. So yes, I believe the governments are well on their way to achieving that objective.
So you are an ardent of that. I guess the right sensitization for the public will also really help in that. But now looking at our oil production numbers in April, Nigeria once produced over 2 million barrels per day. How did we get to this level?
Well, I mean, the problems with the oil production are not new. It's problems that have been facing the country since, I'd say, since the 1990s, right? However, we saw a decline in oil production post-COVID-19 because post-COVID-19 we were producing above 2 million barrels. After the COVID-19, we've had a lot of challenges getting back to that. I believe, it's basically a recovery. There is slower recovery in oil production post-COVID, but also the structural issues that have continued to plague oil production since inception. We're talking about pipeline vandalisms, crude oil thefts, insecurity in the host communities. We're talking about infrastructural decadence. So yes, these are things that have continued to suppress oil production. But now, in light of all these factors that you've just highlighted, is there really a reason to be optimistic in terms of where we're going? Yes, I'll say yes. There's actually a lot to be optimistic for. Although I would say cautiously optimistic. Yes. Because these issues I have mentioned, they still remain. But however, we've seen efforts by the governments to actually crack down on oil theft and pipeline vandalisms. We've also seen recently where they just completed a project with OML 13. It's NNPCL and a subsidiary of SEPCO. This project is meant to generate about 40,000 barrels of oil by the end of May, about 27th of May. So, yeah, that is the bright spot in sight for oil production. Right, I refer specifically more to these bottlenecks you've just highlighted, so pipeline vandalism and all of those issues. Yeah, what do we see in terms of efforts around those? I mean, we've seen efforts in cracking down on oil theft and pipeline vandalism, but yet I still say the government needs to do more. There's more that needs to be done, especially in respect to the infrastructure, right?
Okay. Now, President Tinubu's election manifesto aims for 2.7 million barrels by 2027 and then 4 million barrels by 2030. Yeah. Are these realistic goals? In your opinion?
Yes, these are quite realistic. As I said before 2020, we were producing well above 2 million barrels. So it's not above us. It's not something we cannot achieve. I think, as I have said, there has to be the challenges that we are facing right now have to be properly addressed to achieve that. But getting there is not beyond Nigeria. Not at all.
No, I like the outlook. I mean, you've highlighted and touched on a few points around this earlier, but then how would you assess the administration's attention to the oil and gas sector over the past year since coming into office? Okay,
thank you for that question. So when the new president came in with new laws, with the deregulation of the downstream sector and also the removal of fuel subsidy, these policies basically we saw there was a lot of happening around it, right? We have seen the government's efforts towards ramping up oil production. In Q4 2023, we saw oil production move up to 1.55 million barrels per day. That's coming from 1.45 in Q3 2023. We've also seen the oil GDP growth rate grow, snap is 14 consecutive quarters of contraction. To grow by 12.11% in Q4 2023. These are positives for the oil sector. Also, if you look at the market reactions to this, the oil and gas index, that's the oil and gas NGX index, also rose by 125% year to date in 2023. It rose by 13.6%, or it has risen by 13.6% year to date in 2024. This is very good. It's positive news for the oil and gas sector. So, yeah, we've seen relative good growth in the oil and gas sector since the administration took over.
Right. So you can say that the wheels are in motion, and yes, Nigerians can, fears can be allayed.
Definitely.
No cause for alarm is what you're saying. Well, I mean, Nigeria is still below OPEC's 1.5 million barrels quota, rather. What are the implications of this, if any?
Okay, so first of all, I'd say the implications would depend on how bad we fall short of our quota. So I think in dire situations, we would see OPEC sanctions, where, for example, last year we saw an OPEC cut, already cut our quota from 1.7 million barrels to 1.5. This was majorly because we had not been able to keep up to our quota for an extended period. But however, the immediate impact would be a shortage in revenue. We will not be able to make up as much revenue from oil as we should.
Well, if we're looking now at output level, we're still lower than 1.78 million barrels for 2024. What are the implications of not meeting this budget target?
So it still goes to a shortfall in budget shortfall. I mean, it will imply that there will be a deficit in the budget, which means Nigeria will not make enough revenue to meet the estimated budgets, right? So it means the government would have to, cut spending or increase borrowings. If the government has to cut spending, we know this is going to affect infrastructural progress. So if the government has to engage in infrastructural developments and other things, they will not be able to, they won't have these funds anymore to invest. So.
And if we look at the investment attractiveness of the upstream oil sector, how would you assess this? And if you assess it positively, which I suspect you do, in what ways can we attract more?
Okay. So first of all, I'd say this is actually a good time to invest in the oil and gas sector because with the IOCs divesting assets, IOCs have been divesting, leaving Nigeria. So there's more space for domestic players, right, in the upstream sector. So although challenges linger, As I have said, challenges linger, but while governments continue to try to fix these challenges in terms of the only way, to actually ensure investment into the sector is to tackle the things inhibiting investment in terms of security issues, in terms of regulatory issues and transparency.
Field-Based Services is a Nigerian company that specializes in the use of digital technologies to deliver and develop engineering solutions in the maritime, oil and gas industries, held an interactive session in Lagos. The firm, which is also the official reseller of Starlink for enterprises customers, organized the forum on power and connectivity in an evolving critical sector in Nigeria. Arise correspondent Niyi Olilowo has more.
Field-Based Services Limited is an African-focused company with ambition to become a regional leader in the provision of digital and electronic technology solutions to the maritime and industrial government segments and beyond.
We're here to foster the conversation around the future of connectivity, and we're presenting a platform for some of our technology partners and some of our customers, as well as other stakeholders in the industry, to have the conversation around how they can provide reliable connectivity for their businesses.
Reliable connectivity is a focal point of Field-Based, which goes beyond the maritime sector, but covers a large business landscape. With the theme powering critical connectivity, seamless coverage can be achieved with a convergence of networks and prospects for non-terrestrial platforms.
We are a maritime engineering company and at the same time an internet service provider. So for the maritime space, we provide navigation systems, communication systems, and as well as internet on board vessels. And of course, for businesses, for schools, and for companies that are, in this gathering this morning, we provide internet for them through our collaboration with Starlink. Of course, you all know that Field-Based Services Limited, if you go to Starlink websites, you're going to get our name first on their websites, as an authorized reseller of Starlink.
Field-based Starlink service delivery is top-notch. The lightning-fast internet is actually a reality. We deployed Field-based over a year ago now, and it has always been easy breezy, walk in the park. Our crew, they prefer to use Starlink to other internet because of the speed and the reliability. So 100% top-notch and on point for me when it comes to Field-based Starlink internet services.
With Field-Based, hybrid connectivity solutions and Starlink's large satellite network, the features of versatility, reliability, cost-effectiveness, and flexible contract plans can be achieved with the use of data, high-speed internet transactions, and other business-related solutions. Niyi Olilowo, Arise News.
The Nigerian Senate has approved a $500 million loan request by the President Bola Tinubu Foundation towards electricity metering for citizens. The fund was approved by the Bureau of Public Enterprises after considering the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts report presented by Haruna Manu, Vice Chairman of the committee. The $500 million loan is part of the $7.94 billion loan that President Bola Tinubu sought the Senate's approval for in November 2023 under the 2022 to 2024 external borrowing plan. Let's take a look.
Following the resumption of the committee's consideration of the outstanding request and after legislative interactions, deliberations, and due diligence, the committee hereby submits its report and sought for the approval of the recommendation therein. The committee notes, most importantly, the terms and conditions under which the loan will be borrowed will not in any manner compromise the sustainability of the Nigerian economy or hinder the integrity and independence of Nigeria as a sovereign nation. The committee therefore recommends as follows: that the Senate do approve the ongoing negotiation of external borrowing in the sum of $500 million United States dollars for Bureau of Public Enterprise, that the terms and conditions of the loan from the funding agency be forwarded to the National Assembly prior to the execution for concurrence and proper documentation.
Well, that's it on the Global Business Report for today. From all of us, many thanks for your company. I'm Abby Owolawi. But just before we go, Jennifer Olise, a Rise 360 anchor, is here to give us a sneak peek as to what to expect on her show today. Jennifer, how are you today? I'm sure you have another packed show for us.
Of course.
What can we look forward to?
5 p.m. We're definitely going to be talking about all the news around the world, and we'll be talking to the former Emir's daughter. Yes.
Wow, okay.
She's
I
on
like
our
the
show
intrigue
today.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, looking forward to it. Many thanks, Jennifer. Well, Global Business Report is back 11 o'clock tomorrow. Hope you join us again. Arise 360 is next.
Too much for a small save? Well, that's Access Bank's Diamond Extra. You too can win big this season, as Diamond Extra Season 16 is back. With at least 5,000 Naira in your Diamond Extra account, 200 lucky people stand a chance of winning loads of cash every month till December. 1,000 lucky people will get free digital marketing training, and 3 lucky people will drive home with brand new cars each during this Extra Flex season. So, what are you waiting for?
In a world where you can be anything, choose to make more out of it. So, whether you're a corporate, individual business, or entrepreneur, you can make the extra cash you need by signing up as an Access Closer agent to provide common banking services like cash withdrawal, cash transfer, buy airtime, bill payment, account opening, deposit money in your neighborhood. To register, all you need is to visit any Access Bank branch with a valid identification card, your NIN, your utility bill, your business registration documents, and a minimum capital of 50,000 Naira. Access, more than banking.
You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Proudly independent for more than a decade. Always bold, always fresh. Winner of several awards, local and global. Winner of TV Channel of the Year from peers at the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria Awards. Winner of an Emmy from America's National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Still, we're changing the conversation to make sense of your world. We'll do it together, because now more than ever, you need a clear voice to guide you home. Arise News, awards, and beyond.
The journey to build a sustainable Africa is asking more of the finance sector than ever before. Access Holdings is turning this vision into a reality, thanks to its environmentally conscious financial services. Whether it's reaching for carbon neutrality or inspiring the next generation of leaders, Access is living by its green credentials to ensure that Africa's future is sustainable and prosperous. Access, where financial solutions connect the world.
You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Proudly independent for more than a decade. Always bold, always fresh. Winner of several awards, local and global. Winner of TV Channel of the Year from peers at the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria Awards. Winner of an Emmy from America's National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Still, we're changing the conversation to make sense of your world. We'll do it together, because now more than ever, you need a clear voice to guide you home. Arise News, awards, and beyond.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jennifer Olize, your host for the next hour, as we venture into the world of entertainment and talk and everything showbiz, because this is Arise 360. Yes, it's certainly going to be a great show because, as always, I'll be telling you what's been happening all across the world. So coming up today on Arise 360, first, we'll be taking a look at what's been making the headlines across the four corners of the globe on our trip around the world. Then, we'll be talking with Zainab Ado Bayero, a filmmaker and a daughter of the late Emir of Kano State, Ado Bayero. Stay with us, all that and more, right here on Arise 360. Now, let's take a look at some of the top stories that have made the international headlines, and that means a look around a day around the world. Okay, so the judge has given Joe Jonas and Sophia Turner 30 days to continue their divorce settlement negotiations, or they'll dismiss their case for lack of prosecution. This comes after Sophie petitions to reactivate the divorce process after the proceedings were temporarily paused while the former couple were mediating to negotiate property and child custody arrangements. In September 2023, Joe Jonas began the legal steps to end his marriage to Sophia Turner in Miami, with 4 years of marriages behind them. Jonas stated the marriage between them is irretrievably broken. Now, Joe Jonas recently revealed that Sophie was an irresponsible mother who likes to party since she was seen hanging around with Taylor Swift. However, she confessed it was absolutely shocking, it wasn't true, and she cannot believe all the lies that are being spread about her by her ex-husband. So now, Sophia, the Game of Thrones actress, said that her recent split was the worst few years of her life. Like, she's been literally having the worst time of her life. She also stated that she wasn't happy to be called the wives. Remember, there are three brothers, Joe, Nick, and the other one. And the other one is married to Priyanka Chopra, who is married to Nick. So they usually refer to the three of them as the wives, and she just didn't like that. So she's really, really done with this marriage. Now, let's take our next story. Universal Music Group and its CEO, Lucien Grange, have been dropped from Rodney Little Jones' sexual harassment lawsuits against Diddy. They were dismissed from the lawsuit Jones filed in February, which alleged that the company and Grange aided and abetted in abuse perpetrated by the Bad Boys record founder, Diddy. Diddy's attorney for Universal Music Group argued the accusations against the company were offensively false and would seek legal penalties against Jones' lawyer. Diddy has been in the news for all sorts, but I mean, we just wish him all the best. Let's take our next story. 50 Cent. 50 Cent never misses an opportunity to speak his mind on social media, even if it means trolling literally anyone. And now in his latest victim is none other than longtime rival Jay-Z. 50 Cent seems to think that Jay-Z's silence and distance is intentional in light of Diddy's ongoing sexual assault cases. The rapper recently claimed that Jay-Z is laying low until the legal situation blows over. He also posted a distorted image of Hove on his social media. This isn't the first time 50 has trolled Jay over his silence regarding Diddy's recent legal issues. Now, we all know 50 Cent is like relentless on trolling celebrities, especially if he doesn't like you, he will come for you. 50 Cent, like he's so talented, but I don't know how he has that time to be having Twitter fingers and be trolling big time celebrities like himself. Now, he started off with Diddy, now he has moved to Jay-Z. Obviously, Jay-Z is not going to reply to 50 Cent, but he's just trying his luck, obviously, for the attention. Now, this is not the first time he's throwing shades at Jay-Z. He recently claimed that Jay-Z's marriage to Beyonce catapulted him into his mainstream success. Yes, obviously, we know there's a huge relationship. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Jay-Z brought Beyonce up, Beyonce brought Jay-Z up. That's fine. 50 Cent, you can't... That's okay. They're married. They're okay to elevate themselves. There's no need to troll them, okay? Now, and in case you don't know why he's been trolling P. Diddy, let me give you some tea on this news. So the whole beef is actually because 50 Cent... Okay, so P. Diddy started having something with 50 Cent's baby mama, Dolphin Joy. And obviously, 50 Cent had it, like he was like, that's unacceptable. So since then, he's just had this huge hatred for Diddy. And if you check his social media, he has been trolling Diddy. All the lawsuits came out. It is non-stop. 50 Cent, take your time. Let's take our next story. The Swedish government has resolved to return 39 pieces of the Benin artifacts in her museum to the custody of the Oba of Benin. This disclosure followed the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Gazeta, which recognized ownership and vesting custody and management of the repatriated Benin artifacts in the Oba of Benin. The Swedish ambassador to Nigeria, Annika Han Hungland, conveyed the Swedish government decision when she paid a visit to the Oba of Benin's palace in Benin City, Edo State. The Benin monarch, Oba Owure II, recalled how he made a request through the Swedish monarch in 1998 to return Benin's bronze in Sweden during his courtesy visit to him as Nigerian ambassador to Scandinavian countries. And he is finally happy that it has been approved. We're very happy about this news. Obviously, over history, all our artifacts have been, most of our artifacts have been away. They're like in the UK, in Sweden, and the Sweden government has definitely agreed to return it to us. And I would love for our artifacts to be in our museums. Yes, we have a lot of museums, but we don't see people actually going to the museums to check out the artifact because they are in other people's museums. So now that they're actually returning our artifact, it would be nice for people to see this and use this as a tourism opportunity in Lagos, Nigeria, to check out the museums where the artifacts will be placed. Now let's take up our next story. We have legendary singer and songwriter Stevie Wonder is officially Ghanaian. Yes, on the musical icon's 74th birthday, he was granted Ghanaian citizenship by the nation's president, Nana Akufo-Addo. The president of Ghana presented a certificate at the ceremony to the Grammy Award-winning star and also a birthday cake with a Ghanaian flag iced on top. The superstar was born and bred in the U.S. state of Michigan, but has had a long interest for Ghana, especially after Stevie Wonder headlined the Ghanaian Music Festival in the 1990s. He believed his ancestral lineage could be traced to Ghana. He has ever since expressed his desire to set up a home there, and now he's finally a citizen. Congratulations, Stevie Wonder, on your citizen to Ghana. Hopefully, when you're in Ghana, you just take an hour flight to Nigeria to visit us here in Lagos. Congratulations, that's wonderful news. Let's see our next story. Justin and Hailey Bieber have announced their pregnancy. Yes, they are expecting their first child together after renewing their wedding vow in Hawaii. Now, the couple shared this video and images of Hailey debuting her bump in a white lace dress. In fact, Justin and Hailey already picked out their first baby names together way before they shared the news of Hailey's pregnancy with the world. They are also starting to decorate their nursery, and they can't wait to meet the baby. The announcement was made on Instagram, including a very lovely video of the couple. Let's take a look. Congratulations, Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber. We're definitely happy about this good news. Recently, remember that Justin was found with Bell's palsy recently, and Hailey recently just shared a picture of him shedding tears on Instagram. So hopefully now we know that everything is going well and they are happy. So good luck. Let's move on to our next story. Niniola, who is the queen of Afro House and also the sister to Afrobeat star Tenny, celebrates her 10 years in the music industry. Niniola came into the music industry in 2013 after coming third place on Project West Africa. A decade later, and she's still bringing out non-stop hits. She recently dropped a video to her latest song Level in celebration of 10 years in the music industry. Let's take a look. Niniola, queen of Afro House. Someone was asking the other day that, is it Afro House? I said, it's Afro House. Afrobeats is different. Afro House is African music and like dance music. So it's mixed together. And it's only like Niniola that is doing this right now. And she's absolutely taking up the stage in every way. Her sound is different. She looks different. And she's also tennis. A lot of people don't know why. So good luck, Niniola. 10 years in the industry. We expect more years from you. Keep it going. Let's move on to our next story. Yesterday, we were talking about Portable. Yes, he was trending all over social media. He was arrested for the 14 million naira debt he incurred while he purchased the G-Wagon. Well, he has been released after spending the night in prison. This granted him bail to regain his freedom just 2 hours after he gained freedom. Portable released a song titled Spider-Man, making reference to how he was released. Oh my God. That video is hilarious. hate to laugh at anyone in the US, like, it's my kind of thing, but you can't help but laugh at that video. The way he was jumping around, actually a Spider-Man. But what makes me is that how the Portable out that song in less than 1 day. Spider-Man, Portable, are you know? Okay, so now we're going to take another short break. We'll be backstage on Arise 360. Coming up, we're having Zainab Bayero, a filmmaker and daughter of the Emir of Kano State, Bayero. Stay with us.
Guy, the right cost of things we plan our next month. I agree with you. I mean, we should not be with our faces now.
You both need better banking options.
What do you have better banking option?
I recently moved my salary account to Polaris Bank, and since then, it's been smooth right for me. Got over my existing loan and gave me better interest and repayment terms.
Are you serious?
Yes, as a salary account holder, I can get personal term loan, auto loan, mortgage, 50% salary advance, card, more without to the bank.
Really?
I've got a personal term loan. Here's my card too.
What do I make?
Simple. Open a Polaris salary account on use salary account as your referral code.
I need my salary accounts now.
Personal loan or Polaris salary account. Alt is available on Play Store and Apple App Store.
Rise 360, Jennifer Leeds. It's time to turn our attention to the world of streaming, cinemas, movies, and more. We bring you up to date what's been happening in film and television. The importance of celebrating leaders who have made an impact on the country one way or another can not be overstated. My guest on the show today is exactly that, making a documentary about the life of Ado Bayero, a former Emir of Kano State, who happens to be his father. Joining me on the show to discuss her work, my father, the Emir, the portrait of Ado Bayero is Ado Bayero. Welcome to Rise 360, Zainab. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I heard you were on the show. I was quite intrigued. I was like, I can't wait to ask you all the questions. So how are you? Tell me about yourself. Tell me about you.
Okay.
We know about your dad. Now tell me, who is Zainab?
Wow. Okay. Zainab is a complex. An introvert.
Okay.
Quite shy. Not too social mind. I'm very into myself and very deep thinker. I love to read. I love to watch movies. I love to reflect. So kind of I'm artistic, and love fashion, love adventure. So I guess my attributes actually.
Okay, so what did you say? Can I ask?
Well, because I'm shy, but at the same time, I believe in standing up for myself.
So like a reason.
Yeah,
do what you do.
like
being right now.
When I have to do it, I have to put myself out there.
Yeah, very
do that. I'm really shy, but when it's time for me to stand up for myself and be vocal and I believe in, yes, I do.
Love that. That's very good.
Thank you.
So, how was it growing up with your dad? How was it, Kano? You lived in Kano, obviously, before you moved to Lagos.
Yes.
What was your childhood like with Emir of Kano?
Yeah. That's very complex. My dad, was monarch, very conservative society, like spiritual, political leader of Emirate in Kano. At the same time, my mom wasn't Kano. She was from a state, another kingdom, and from a real home. So I was raised by my mom, but my dad, the leader of Kano, he had so much expectation of his kids, and was a strict father, and it's like, and stuff like that. So my mom raised me to be very independent, vocal, but at the same time, mom,
Okay.
And my dad really wanted like that strict Muslim girl, but mom kind of said, okay, that has to be like, it has to be Muslim, but at the same time, she has to be more fit into the Asian world. So being the daughter of a king was really incredible because he was very loved, and respected. So when I got to realize how much people respected and loved him, I was in awe of myself because I just he was my dad. But I didn't know he was like father to so many people, millions of people, loved and to respect. Like, oh, he's also that is our real father, So it was pretty remarkable.
Yes, that sounds remarkable. So he was the longest reigning monarchy in Kano. How long was he for?
51 years.
51 years.
Yeah. Half a century.
Half a century. So, like, I'm sure you grew up differently to other kids around the children around. How is it? So would you call yourself a princess? Or how was it growing up with all the children that you were the emir's daughter?
Yeah, you know, it can be a person,
okay,
but at the same time, it can be really difficult sometimes because when I was a kid, I was in school in Kano. I went to school here in London, all coming to Kano. So I was speaking in kind of a British accent, you know, I was kind of different. Then the kids were like, oh, she's like, she's going to just like attitude. Like, but I wasn't really a girl, you know, I was shy, you know, but you hear snarky remarks time like, oh, she's a princess and it's all on her face and all. Even when you're not doing anything, you know, kids really like,
oh yeah,
sometimes, but sometimes I feel like, oh, I wish I could just blend in and normal sometimes, but later on I made friends, I think they got used to it. Oh, okay. She was Zaina. Yeah, sometimes you hear, oh, I was, you know, stuff like that. But I want to get used to it.
Okay, so you're used to it now, and you're used to talk.
Yeah,
okay.
The territory.
I know. So can you tell us about the impact your dad made in the society?
Yeah, you know, he was someone who was very, he was a progressive man, you know, Muslim and Kano. You know, he had the custom of Islam. At the same time, he learned to balance that. Because, you know, Kano is a very metropolitan city with so many different tribes and races, you know. So he always tried to be progressive in that respect, you know. Different people are in Kano. He tried to teach like acceptance of religions, different people. So that aspect, I think that's one of his greatest achievements, being someone who was a united force, a peacemaker in Nigeria. I mean, he had so many friends, you know, from different parts of Nigeria world. You know, he had Igbo friends from the east, he had Yoruba friends, you know, different parts of Nigeria. You know, he had friends made, you know, impacts in people's lives in different ways. And that's the leader. And I don't think we get kind of leaders anymore. He wasn't just someone who walked the talk, walked the walk.
Oh, okay. That's wonderful. I really like that. So, talking about leadership, I mean, now you're a filmmaker. Do you have any aspirations to go into politics, to be a leader yourself?
You know, politics is so complicated. You know, it's a game that you can't really predict, and I'm someone who's very straightforward, very blunt. But at the same time, I see what's going on in the world around me, in the society, and I wish I could make a change. You know, sometimes you feel like, you know, maybe you should go out there and try to do something and not just sit behind it. So let's just let it be. This is how things are. No, I mean, if we go out there, we can make a change. I mean, I think of the civil rights movement, what sparked it. You know, Rosa Parks just got up and said, I am not going to do that.
Exactly.
I'm going to take my seat today. And that's what, you know, lit the fire for the civil rights movement and ended segregation. So I think that if I have the opportunity, why not? I would love to, like, make a change, make lives better in any way I can. If I could, if it's with politics, if it's with movies, fine. But I mean, that's who my father was. I would love to carry that torch to try and unite Nigerians to make things better in any way I can. Because I believe the diversity in Nigeria is not helping. You know, it's about tribal differences, religious differences, and it shouldn't be like that. You know, we're all Nigerians. We're beautiful country. I think the differences is what makes us amazing. You see the Yoruba man speaking the Yoruba language, you see the Igbos, the Hausas. So let's try and unite.
That's very good. I like that aspect. And I do hope you go into leadership one day so that you can continue the legacy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So So now let's dive into this documentary, right? A documentary. Why not a movie? Let's start with that. Why did you decide to do a documentary? Because that could have easily been a smash movie. Tell me.
Yeah, right. A biopic, you know, lots of biopics are out there about great figures, whether it's the monarchs, political figures. With a documentary, I figured it would detail more about him. You know, you get archival footages of him in his own words. You see him, you know, footages of him. You hear his voice in his own words, you know, speaking. So I really wanted people to feel him, not just someone playing him, you know. So that's why I decided, let me start with a documentary. And he loved documentaries.
Okay.
You know, I remember as a kid growing up, he would put the History Channel or Discovery. And back then, I wasn't really a fan of documentaries, which is crazy and ironic. You know, that's really beautiful to think that my dad really encouraged me to love documentaries when I was a kid, even though I didn't know the beauty. But now, doing it, I see what he meant. I think in Nigeria, we should learn, you know, to love documentaries a bit more. Yeah, I get movies, music, fashion. We have so much talent, but if we could go a little more into documentaries, it would be great too, because we have such beautiful cultures, you know, different aspects of Nigeria that we could showcase with documentaries, you know. Telling stories with documentaries is really incredible.
Very incredible. I love documentaries too. I'm a documentaries fan. But would you consider doing a movie someday?
Of course, I would love to do a feature film. Absolutely. I love movies. You know, movies are my first love. So I would love to direct a movie, you know, beautiful, like even a biopic or a fictional story that would really like inspire people. I love movies so much. You know, I've watched movies over the years. So many movies have transformed my life, you know, with the storylines. You know, a great movie can just move you to tears, make you feel ecstatic, get so much feelings. I mean, I think everyone knows the line from Casablanca. And, you know, iconic movies like that, The Godfather, you know, they're just timeless classics. So I would love to. I don't know if I could ever do a movie that's that great, but
why not?
I would love to produce and direct a movie that people come and see.
So being obviously in the industry, what were some of the challenges you faced as a first-time filmmaker while you were making your documentary? And like, how long, what was the duration, the process, and like, tell us some things that happened during that whole journey.
Yeah, the journey started with me writing the script. I wrote it myself after researching. Yeah.
Okay.
And I had to decide how to write it, you know, what to write about him. And then, you know, that was like pre-production.
Okay.
Then the production phase was getting like a team that would work with me, you know, an editor, DOP. And then directing it myself was a great risk.
You directed it yourself too?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know.
Wrote and directed it. That's brilliant.
Thank you so much. And so I had to decide how I wanted to shoot it, how I wanted the story to be told. It was more complicated than I thought, and it was a really daunting task. But at the end, you know, when it was over and I was done, I was like, whoa, it was a sigh of relief that, wow, I've done it, you know, I've created something that, you know, I'm part of this industry now, I guess, of, you know, movie making, the art of cinema. And I started with my dad's story, and that felt so powerful to me. You know, being a female from the North, a royal family from the North, this is historic.
Very.
It has never happened. You know, you don't get even royals, I don't know, in Nigeria going into filmmaking. You know?
That's true. That's actually true. So you're one of the first.
Exactly. And as a woman and as a Muslim from a very conservative society like Kano, like
that's actually my next question for you. As a young female Muslim,
exactly.
And, you know, it's already tough being a woman as in general.
Exactly.
Then being a Muslim and from the royal family, you're meant to be conservative.
I've got 3 strikes against me there.
Wait, you need to tell us about that. What do you mean strikes, and how does that happen?
You know, what I'm saying, you know, as you said, as women, we have to fight in a man's world. And, you know, most industries are male-dominated. And you have to fight your way in to prove yourself as a lady. Then as a Muslim, you know, as a Muslim girl coming from a society that's so conservative, you know, I'm going to be judged, definitely, and especially as a royal. This is not expected. And I don't know why. I don't know who wrote the rules. And I don't believe in those rules. I believe as a Muslim girl, I have a choice, you know, to do anything, go into any industry. It doesn't matter, you know. You don't need to be stifled by your religion. And for someone like me who doesn't really cover up or wear the hijab, you know, that's definitely the North. They're not going to be very comfortable with that. But this is me, you know. I don't want to pretend to be what I'm not. You know, I'm a modern girl in a contemporary world. I'm a Muslim. I believe in Allah. I pray and all that. But at the same time, my ideology is very modern. I'm a feminist. I believe in equality of the sexes. I don't believe in being submissive. I don't believe in being, you know, in the back seat, I would say. I believe in taking the reins, you know. So this is not what was really expected of a Muslim girl from the North, from the royal home. And I know there are a lot of people against me for doing this, but I'm not doing anything wrong. I love my dad. It's a passion project. I want people to remember that